Or in a case, Thrillist ranking the best book-length comics ever created is a lot like picking out the greatest grains of sand on the beach. You're bound to overlook some gems. That's the glory of graphic novels as a form, isn't it? From North America to Europe to Japan, from superheroes to autobiography to pure poetry, from horror to comedy to drama, this medium is as varied and vital as anything else on Earth. And since it's largely free from the commercial demands of billion-dollar mega-industries like film, TV, music, or video games, comics offer a creative freedom that's all but unparalleled. It's easy to fill your bookshelf with mind-expanding, paradigm-shifting work and still barely scratch the surface of what's out there. Below you'll find our attempt to delineate the tip of the art form's iceberg, 33 of the most exciting, adventurous, gorgeous, movingly written anthologies, limited series, and standalone stories ever drawn. Get ready for work that will challenge and enrich you for years to come. Civilized books. I know you must all have a lot of questions and comments, but if you'll please save them until I've finished, I will try to explain this situation as best I can. With these words, cartoonist Gabrielle Bell's two-dimensional avatar, customarily the star of autobiographical stories about her itinerant, poverty-prone life as an artist, launches into a tall tale about her mother's life on the radical fringes of 70s society and her own, non-existent, adaptation of would-be Warhol assassin Valerie Solana's Scum Manifesto, an imaginary project so eagerly anticipated that Michelle Obama talks about it at commencement addresses. In other words, Bell's not explaining the situation clearly at all. But in The Voyeurs, a collection of her short comics, she explains her life, as best she can, in an anxious blend of mostly fact and occasional fantasy that reflects her self-analyzing thought process. Her chunky, jittery black lines give her and her acquaintances a sense of weight that carries over into the gravity of their emotions. Drawn and quarterly, Michael Deford, among the most talented and respected cartoonists of his generation, published one of the millennial cohort's first genuinely great comics in Ant Colony. While the book's very loosely anthropomorphized insect characters tie it to a tradition nearly as old as the art form itself, the funny animal comic Deford updates the genre with his inimitably bizarre and baroque character designs. The ants all have visible internal organs, spiders are snarling dog heads with daddy long legs, feet sticking out of them, the ant queen is a mountainous labyrinth of sex, and his talent for Cronenbergian body horror. As the title colony is torn apart by external and internal threats, Deford explores how both biology and society lock us into routines from which it's nearly impossible to escape. Highwater Books. Not since the heyday of Robert Crumb's Zap Comics Group, or perhaps the classic Marvel Comics bullpen, has there been a group of cartoonists as influential as Providence, Rhode Island's Fort Thunder, a collective of art school students and dropouts who, around the turn of the 21st century, wed their interests in noise rock, dungeons. Cartoonist and musician Brian Chippendale emerged as the Fort's most famous alumnus thanks to his Hall of Fame drumming for the band Lightning Bolt, and his manic post-apocalyptic graphic novel musings on community like Ninja and Puke Force are not to be missed. His collaborator Matt Brinkman's tiny but tremendous Terratoid Heights is perhaps the purest distillation of how they brought the thunder. These wordless, black and white short stories follow a variety of creepy creatures as they make their way through carefully delineated dungeon-like environments, living and dying, losing and triumphing along the way. In most memorable, the protagonist deposes a king only to shit on his throne. Top that, George R.R. Martin. Brinkman's pages prove that comics can be as adept and thrilling at depicting travel through a physical environment as film or video games. Koyama Press Comics as poetry has had its proponents for quite some time, particularly since the dawn of the O. The explosive shattering of time and space in Kevin Huizenga's Gloriana, the use of compulsive mark-making to signify grief in Anders Nilsson's The End and Josh Cotter's Driven by Lemons, abstraction as the ultimate form of political cartooning in Warren Craghead's ongoing projects on global conflict, all these come to mind. But the sheer minimalist restraint and stunning draftsmanship of polymath artist Aidan Koch's comics, many of which are contained in this collection, mark her as the medium's poet laureate. Watching her work evolve through these pages, you can see her ever-growing command of realistic rendering wedded to her increasing confidence in using no more visual information than necessary to convey her messages of memory, beauty, the presence of physical objects in our psychological landscape, and the often stymied desire to connect. Fantagraphics' few collections of the work of comics masters make the case for their creators' greatness as instantaneously and inarguably as this anthology of short stories from the godmother of shoujo girls manga. Hagio's intricate and ornate line work is nothing short of astonishing, a visual wonder in the vein of a Mobius masterpiece. But it's the power of her fable-like storytelling, most famously in The Tale of a Girl with the painstakingly drawn face of a lizard, that gets its hooks in you and won't let go. From her mind and pen, a genre that has thrilled millions was born. W. Norton. While collections featuring his great creations Fritz the Cat, Mr. Natural, Flaky Foont, and Devil Girl, not to mention his collaborations with comics great everyman writer Harvey Pekar,